I want to follow it up with, I know making the jump from SDR to AE can be a big, it's obviously a big step. It's a different role. How do you make sure that they don't balk when they hit that next role?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'd say the first thing here is alignment with that next manager or leader, right? So you're doing a handoff, simply like a SDR, BDR booking a meeting for an AE. Like, you have to make sure that both of you have an understanding of what is on their side of expectations and what's on your side, and fill any of those gaps in between. That's, to me, the biggest and most important thing is whoever is running that AE team, what do they expect them to be at level-wise that are in my control? And then on my end, what do I need to do so that I can give them to you as close to being successful as possible? That's also in my hands, right? Like, I'm not probably going to be the one who's demo certifying you, because that's not my day-to-day. I don't run demos. But there's a lot of education and other things, processes, things like that I can help with, and that I can move you along the lines. And then the VP of sales, director, whatever, whoever, AE manager, we need to make sure that there's not going to be that like drop ball of like, oh, I thought they were doing that, or I thought they were doing that. So alignment, I would say, is number one. Yeah, to me, that's kind of everything. If you're not aligned, like, it can slip, it can fall. Nothing is worse than that person then not being successful or having a really bad experience, and then either A, I'm scared of what's next, or I don't want to be at this, or it can just really turn into something bad. So yeah, if you're going to make that growth plan, you have to make sure that you are aligned with whoever's taking over that next step, and that both of you can meet, as close to touching hands as possible, so that handoff is good.
One thing that just kind of occurred as you were describing the situation to me was a podcast I did with Jamie Buss, and not the one I normally reference, but we did a second one on leadership and development. And she had this was at Zendesk, and so the context is much, much different. But they had a program where you get to shadow the next role up for a period of time. And like, I think for a small startup, that is absolutely not something that I would do, or I wouldn't institute like the full Jamie Buss system. But I think I'm curious your thoughts on getting SDRs to shadow AEs, more than they are, if they're not following through on the demos and things like that. Like, what's your perspective there?
Yeah, I'm huge on that for sure. That's like one of the smaller steps to take for someone who is like earning, deserving, wanting more. Is I'm always like, okay, you're going to start from listening to gong calls and like hearing that disco call. Like, they're doing that, week 2 of onboarding, because they got to hear all the terminology and see like what that next step is. But after that, like, they should be listening or on other calls if possible. So, for instance, right now there's 2 reps that do want to move forward with the next steps. They've earned it. They deserve it. Do we have the spaces open for those roles right now? Maybe not. But in that whole time frame while we're waiting, I want them to be as prepared and as ready as possible. So it's almost that little light switch, It's like you've been sitting there waiting to drive, and it's not like you have no idea and you're just waiting to sit in the seat to figure it out. Like, you've been driving, on the ranch for 4 or 5 years, and now you're going to take your driver's permit test. So like, I want them to be there, and part of that is hop in on AE's calls, listen to what they're doing. One of the reps was like, I do a whole pre-disco, like what I've learned, whether it's cold call, email, just research. And then I try to like ask certain questions on that, and I share it with the AE, just get their thoughts. So they're like starting to be proactive and take real like ownership and accountability of like, I didn't tell them to do that. The sales director didn't tell them to do that. And they're like, I want to do that before, just because like it's going to level me up and continue my education. And I'm like, well, that's the exact stuff that you should be doing, because now I'm like, cool, you're taking this in your own hands. You're taking this very seriously. I respect that. And it's only going to help you when it comes to that time when I said like, earn it and like make it obvious. If someone's like, oh yeah, what's the, situation on moving a BDR to an AE? It's like, look what this person's already been doing. I think they're ready, rather than, oh, okay, is it like now time to start leveling people up?